What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown Podcast edition. This is episode 31, the October 2019 episode. I'm sitting down with TCC President Rob Roach, GM of Sales AJ Petrarca, and Latin American Operations Manager Javier Fernandez. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to be all in the same room again. I feel like it's been quite a while. A bunch of travel last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I miss you guys. I haven't seen you in a while.
Welcome home from Europe.
Thank you.
Good trip abroad.
Happy to be here at a new podcast table.
Yeah, first episode in the new podcast studio, courtesy of the Kettlebottom guys. Came together really nice. Excited to be using it for the first time.
Yeah, real professional.
Very legit.
Yeah, we look legit now.
Yeah, we do. We do. We were looking at a picture from the very first one we did where we were all at the same conference table and like George was on one end, we were on the other end. It's like this tiny little setup, and now here we are. It's pretty cool.
Look how far we've come.
Look how far we've come.
Yeah. And it's only going to get better once we get a curtain behind us, and
Yep.
we'll have green screen. We can throw,
We could be at the beach.
Yeah, we could be at the
wherever
beach.
we
Yeah.
we should do that. You should like be depending on the season. We be at the forest, at the beach.
That'd be pretty cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Things we could do to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Make chemicals more exciting.
live from Paris. Have the Eiffel Tower down.
That would be romantic.
Me and AJ holding hands.
I see where this is going.
All right. So long story short, if you haven't been watching the video versions, now's a great time to start. Now we got the setup going, and it's a nice setup here.
Yeah, don't watch the video version. Please.
Just listen. Just listen.
I got jet lag. That's why I look this bad. That's what it is.
I don't have any excuses.
We came back late last night. I mean, it was we've all had long travel
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
It's
right.
been busy. But I guess we can jump right into speaking why we're jet lagged. Obviously, coming right back from the EPCA this week. One of the 4 big conferences that's happening kind of around the world every year. This is the European version of it. So we had Rob, Javier, Ray Altenberger, and Steve Friedewald over there on our behalf. Sounds like a busy week of meetings you guys had. Lots of interesting conversations and hearing kind of the general mood and what's going on over in Europe.
Yeah, definitely. You want to comment on what the mood was now, or is that for later?
No, we can comment now.
Yeah, just extremely pessimistic. I mean, it was, I have to go see my shrink after that. It was so depressing. But no, I think that, the problem is that there's a lot of changing in terms of laws and a lot of geopolitical risk, a lot of soft, weak demand. And, you put all those things together and you get some very pessimistic forecasting coming through. So Q4 looks to be tough in all the theaters, Asia, Pacific, Americas, and Europe. So, and then next year, a lot of people predicting a pretty tough year next year. We're at a real tipping point in the chemical industry where, we had robust demand since the recession in 08, 09, and we've had a lot of capacities built to support the growth, and now with with things getting to be a little bit more balanced, I'd say, in terms of demand, there's overcapacity. So we might see some rationalization in the coming quarter and year. We might see certainly some changes, especially with all the the tariffs and whatnot, and now a lot of EU partners are talking about, getting together to block some of the imports that are coming in that are really destroying pricing in their market. So there's just a lot going on, and for the chemical company, we're blessed to be doing as well as we are. We've always been aggressively seeking new customers, new supply, investing in our sales and marketing, and we're going to continue to do so. So we're not as pessimistic. I think, I think things are going to get better. But some of the biggest topics, I guess, would be in Germany, the changes in regulation when it comes to cars with internal combustion engines, diesels, etc. There's a lot of people who aren't buying vehicles right now because they want to see where the regulations go. So that's done tremendous damage to the sales of new autos in Europe. So that's
auto itself, I think, is down 20% in Germany. Since the Mercedes-Benz is renting like football fields like just to store cars because their sales are not there.
Yeah.
And I think all across Europe, the automotive industry is down 15 to 20%.
Yeah, there's changing regulation, and people don't want to know, do I buy a can I buy a diesel car and drive it into the city? In this city you can, in that city you can't.
Yeah.
You know, so nobody's going to buy a diesel car right now with, you know, the concern about what's going to happen, and then internal combustion engines or a battery operated vehicle. I mean, that's the big question now. So there's a lot of confusion on the consumer level.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think we talk about what's happening in Asia and China and then how that affects us. So it's probably an interesting time to have the EPCA. Not that they arranged it that way, but it was probably good timing to see what the mood is. They're kind of almost stuck in the middle in a sense, and all these kind of big geopolitical trends and stuff going on. So
Yeah, a lot of things that's damaging is their Chinese imports into their dumping. Europe has become a dumping ground. It used to be Turkey, it used to be India, Latin America, but now Europe is one of the dumping grounds. So that's very hurting our suppliers and the industry as a whole.
any talks about the Brexit situation, or is that kind of just on hold?
Quite a lot of talk about it because, you know, a lot of people are saying that, you know, Britain's got a point. You know, when you've got a situation like you have right now where, as Javi described, there's just tremendous amount of products being dumped in, and you've got these member states of the EU, and they all can't get together and come up with a common idea to stop this just destruction of the market. You know, maybe Britain's onto something here, you know, because there's so much bureaucracy and things move so slow with the EU. They're unable to protect their own businesses. So, you know, it's a really tough time right now for Europe. And you know, we have our own problems over here. Fact is, they have their own problems as well, and they have nothing to do with us. So, be interesting to see how these things pan out.
Yeah, absolutely. But sounds like a good time for it, and you know, good to catch up with a lot of our suppliers and business partners over there, and good time to be over there and connect with everybody and kind of gauge the overall mood and see how things are going.
Yeah, Berlin's a great city, great place to have the meeting. Yeah, it was a lot of great. I mean, every meeting we had was, you know, we were full for 3.5 days. I mean, every meeting was full of discussion, and you know, the chemical company always sees this as an opportunity to get ourselves into new supply lines and maybe hire some new experts that we can put in the field in sales and things like that. So there's always opportunity, good or bad news.
And it's good that it was well attended too. People are still going out, traveling, wanting to see these places. You know, even us in the States, I know you were at the rubber show this week. It was well attended. People are still kind of out there traveling, and it seems like people are trying to be as positive as they can to be out and about.
Yeah, I mean, it was well attended and people are out and about, but I wouldn't say people are that positive.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of pessimism at the Elastomer conference because, you know, a lot of the, you know, one of the big target end uses there is automotive, and that's also off here in the U.S.
Yeah.
And then with GM on strike as well, you know, there's, you know, a lot of pessimism at the conference this year, but it was well attended and
Yeah.
it was a good conference.
Good. You know, one of the other big regulatory trends going on, I believe yesterday and coming in today. So today's the 11th. So this will probably come out on Monday. So we may already know by then. But the U.S. and China are meeting today to talk about, obviously, the trade war that's been going on for the last 15, 16 months, hoping to get a deal done, or at least pushing on the tariff deadline. As of now, it's supposed to go up to 30% on Tuesday the 15th on $250 billion worth of goods coming into the U.S. and China. So we'll see how those talks go. It's the mood has been positive, but we'll see what actually happens and comes out of those, and hopefully we can delay or come to some type of agreement, you know, a little bit further out.
I'm willing to guess not much comes out of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's major issues here, and it's the chances of something positive coming out of it. Maybe they'll delay the increase, but the tariff will remain. That's my guess.
Is it going from 25 to 30%?
That's my understanding.
On some list, there's $250 billion, so it's one certain list, and there's a separate list. I think it's list 2, and then list 3 is going to be December 15th.
Okay.
That's supposed to go at 30%. So, yeah, that seems to be the general consensus. It's going to get pushed out. It's not going to get fixed or agreed on or go away today. But
Yeah, I think AJ made a prudent comment before we got on the podcast that he's getting sick of this.
Yeah.
I think we all are. You know, this is ridiculous, and there needs to be another tack or tactic to get this, you know, some compromise here. It's really difficult to operate a business even as large as TCC, and there's a lot more that are bigger than us in this industry, when there's really no idea where we're going. So, you know, business leaders, salespeople, customer service. They're all waiting for this to be settled, and there really, honestly, in my opinion, is no end in sight. So,
It
we'll
almost
see.
seems they'd be better off just saying, hey, it's 25%. It's going to be 25% for the next year. At least you can make plans and look at it that way.
Right. I mean, the supply chains are critical from everywhere in the world, including China. And there's a lot of things that we buy at TCC that we can't find elsewhere. And still it's 25%, even though you can't buy it in U.S., you can't buy it in Europe, you can't buy it in Africa or Latin America. It's the only place we can buy it, and it's still 25%. I mean, that's just a tax on the U.S. consumer and U.S. business. So it's, it's causing for some pretty crappy balance sheets in a lot of companies.
Switching gears a little bit, we did see some positive news, some reports coming out about DINP, expected to grow somewhere in the neighborhood of 4% between now and 2024, so over the next 5 years. That's based on the legislation that's in effect today. So obviously there's different analysis going on DINP and different phthalates, and that could obviously grow even higher if stuff gets rolled back and it obviously comes out that it's more of a beneficial and non-harmful product. So that's at least a positive news based on today's legislation and rulings that, it's expected to grow, and the outlook for PVC looks good.
I hope so. There's been a lot of fake news, if you will, about DINP in recent years. The fact is that the flexible PVC market needs DINP. There's just not enough capacity of other plasticizers to supply the gross market with a general purpose like DINP. It's a fantastic plasticizer. It's proven worldwide that the health issues are not applicable to DINP to the point where we've got 3 major producers / one consumer that have submitted it for review to the EPA. There's no question that the product will grow. It's as a general purpose goes, it's got the best performance, functionality, et cetera. So, and then somebody told me recently in Europe that when DOTP and DINP metabolize into the body, they look the same. So it's interesting to hear that. Really, the legislation of blocking DINP is dead, other than the fact that there still is some question about Prop 65 in California, which, there's some specific use determinations there where you don't have to label. Other things you have to label. But again, as we've said in the past, they label fruits and nuts and coffee in California as well. So, in anything, it can have a harmful effect on the human body if there's that exposure. But typically when you talk about products made using DINP, there's not much exposure to the human body. And sure, it shouldn't be used in toys. It shouldn't be used in these applications that it's already not used in. But, for things like carpet backing, roofing, floor tiles, et cetera, it's proven over decades and a long time that it's a fantastic product, and we're committed to it. We're committed to offering alternate plasticizers if people want them, but we're also committed to educating them that we need supply of all these different plasticizers to fulfill this market. It's slow right now, but it's going to pick up, and then we're going to really need it. So,
yeah, myself and Joe DeVersa were at the Vinyl Tech 2 weeks ago, and one large manufacturer gave a good regulatory overview on the kind of status of things, and it said California is the only region in the world that has labeled DINP with any kind of actual negative, name or something behind it. Not the only country, not the only continent. California, the state of California, is the only region in the world that has given it any kind of negative, appointment. So it's kind of a funny way to say it when the global, when you look at things globally, that's the only place that's done.
California is at the forefront of trying to do, great things for their people. But when you do things based on emotion rather than real science, this is the sort of stuff that happens. So, it's we need DINP until there are a lot more large scale plasticizer producers and products that are available, and I don't see that. It's interesting that it's going to grow 4%. I mean, if we get the positive results of the testing that we expect, it could grow even more.
Yep. And obviously, we're happy to have Javier in town this week. You've been out and about. I know you spent some time down in Mexico, and obviously we're over in Europe.
Yep.
But glad to have you back, and wonder if you want to give a little update on what's the overall situation and mood, south of the U.S. border, and obviously we've been watching Venezuela pretty closely in that situation.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in countries like Ecuador and Venezuela and Peru, even though, for example, Venezuela, there's a gasoline shortage at the moment, so people are going out to the streets because, that was the only thing that they have going for you, the oil. And now they don't have that. Also, Aruba stopped buying oil from PDVSA. So PDVSA is getting less and less outlets for their oil. They have to go farther and farther and there are more logistics costs for that, and it doesn't make any sense. So they're really in a pinch. And I think I was reading this morning that the minimum salary is at $4 a month, adjusted to inflation.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Wow.
That's a Starbucks coffee.
Yeah.
That's a latte.
Yeah. Well, no, not a latte. Latte is more like $6-8.
Yeah,
So
that's
So
true.
maybe a small latte.
yeah, maybe a small latte, but that's more like an iced coffee or something like
Yeah,
that.
but it's bad. In Mexico, things are a lot of uncertainty. Things to be looking. They have revised GDP to lower for 2019, and 2020 looks flat. So that's going to hurt our business there, but I think we're very optimistic to see things change in Mexico. And Ecuador thinks they end the subsidies in oil, so diesel double overnight, and gasoline raise around 40%. So people are out protesting in the street. So everywhere you see, there's a lot of protest in Latin America. Things are not looking good, and hopefully things get better in Brazil, in Mexico, because when those countries do well, the whole region does well.
And it's probably, I would assume it's a lot different than the States. In the States, stuff goes wrong. We have these regulatory functions to fix them, and you can, go to the government and all that stuff. Is it similar in Latin American regions, or what's the process to actually get stuff improved?
The process is there, but the problem is the corruption.
Yeah.
So there's high amounts of corruption. For example, in Peru, the last 4 presidents in Peru they have been
Conviction record, and also they have lawsuits against them, and they need to be incarcerated. The last 4 presidents. Wow.
So corruption reigns the region.
No.
Yeah. So the process is there, but it's just the way of getting things done. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, hopefully stuff improves or kind of stays on that track. Hopefully the protests and stuff go somewhere and make some real change.
Yeah.
Best case scenario.
Yep.
Pricing updates and trends coming in October. Coming into slowly getting towards the winter months. Definitely starting to feel a little bit colder.
Oh yeah.
Up around here. The getting darker. It's getting darker. It's getting lighter later. I did that backwards. Golf course is opening later. Unfortunately, we're definitely coming into winter time. But what is pricing updates and things look like in October? Seems like it's been pretty flat coming out of September, coming into October.
Yeah, slight adjustment in propylene, slight adjustments in benzene, orthoxylene, up slightly. Oils actually trended down to the lower 50s. Now it's starting to return more closer to the mid 50s with the Turkey-Syria situation. And then this morning there was the bombing of an Iranian oil tanker by what looks like Saudi Arabia. So certainly a lot of tensions in the Middle East. One of the things we talked a lot about in Europe was, fracking, gas and oil in North America. It's been a big boom for us to, have this technology the last 8 or 10 years or so, and we've discovered a lot of gas and oil. Well, what this has meant is that our influence in those regions where we were getting gas and oil from prior is less and less. And heard the comment quite a few times in EPCA how the United States influence is needed in these regions, and it's no longer there. So interesting how some folks now see the geopolitical issues partly because of our involvement being less and less in these regions. So, and now you're seeing other countries step into those regions, like Russia, like China, like Middle Eastern countries. So, good or bad, it's good that we have our own resources in terms of energies, but bad in the fact that we've gotten quite a bit more isolationist in our global position.
Yeah.
And I think that's kept, the fact that we've had flat or down demand, quite a bit down, is having an effect on the raw materials and keeping things relatively balanced.
Yeah, it seems like we always talk about it's more supply and demand fundamentals versus kind of what these raw materials are doing, and now kind of starting to see it come down a little bit just because supply is a little bit higher globally.
Yeah, I think the stock market stayed up. I mean, there's no doubt why that is. I mean, the new tax plan props up billion-dollar companies and not the individual or middle class or small business. It doesn't help us. So, of course, they're doing well, and of course, they're manipulating the interest rates by tweeting about pushing interest rates lower to keep the economy going. But, there's a lot of people who are asking us. I think that was the first question, Javi, we got is how are things in the United States, because they see us as doing extremely well right now. And the fact is that despite the Dow and the NASDAQ and the unemployment levels, we're not doing that well. Overall things aren't good and inventories are low. And there's no buying ahead of any price increases or optimistic forecasts of demand or anything like that. So now it seems that we're sort of joining the rest of the world in this slowdown.
Yeah, all the economic factors are not translating to the industry itself. It looks great on paper. Housing starts, stuff like that, and employment, but the industry is slow, definitely slow.
Yeah. Featured products, new products coming into the winter time. Obviously coming out of EPCA and some other meetings, got a lot of exciting things in the pipeline. Maybe some stuff we can't quite talk about yet.
Yeah,
but lot coming.
Lots of new stuff coming out.
Should be exciting.
For sure.
A few things we can talk about, and I think have talked about, are products like methanol and glycols that will see a slight uptick coming into the winter time for some different cold weather applications.
Yep, urea as well as a spot in the winter months. So looking forward to moving some more of that.
Yep. And so I know that's antifreeze and things like that are some of the big end uses for some of those products.
Yep, windshield wash fluid, antifreeze, ice melt, kind of all the above with that basket of products.
Yep. So seeing some
We've already seen some big storms hitting. So we're actually in the middle of a big storm right here, a nor'easter on the East Coast, but we've seen some big snows out in the western part of the U.S. and the mountains of.
Denver got like 3 inches yesterday.
Yeah, huge swings in temperature, and the season's here. So of course, methanol, glycol, urea, all used to combat freezing and ice, and we're heavily vested in all of those and ready for a good season.
Feel free to hit up AJ on WhatsApp for any of those products.
Just email them.
WhatsApp
is against company policy, Ben.
But plenty of availability and looking good coming in the winter months. So feel free to reach out for any of those products. We'll be happy to talk to you about it. Trade shows, conferences came out of a big 6-7 week swing between the EPCA and Vinyltech, the Elastomer conference. So a lot of good shows this fall. I know the Elastomer conference, I think, was one of the first times we've done it. Maybe walked once or twice in the past.
We've walked it in the past. Yeah.
So
first time I've been personally,
okay.
But it was a good one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Yeah, good to be out, and obviously glad that it was well attended and all that stuff. The Vinyltech was well attended as well. It was a good event last week in Ohio.
Beautiful Ohio.
Beautiful Ohio. Yeah.
I look forward to receiving those sales reports on those.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, looking forward to it.
We got the K show coming up next week. We'll have Ray Altenberger from TCC over there, just walking the show. So if you are out in K show this week, maybe you downloaded the podcast and you're listening on an airplane right now. Feel free to send Ray an email when you land, and I'll be happy to set up a meeting over there. And then the APLA coming up in November.
It's coming up in less than a month.
Rounds out the year for shows pretty much.
Yeah, that's the fourth big one of the year. It's in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The schedule is filling up quick, so looking forward to see our peers, our Latin peers there. it's a good city. It's a fun city, but I'm all about business.
That's right.
It's a hell of a trip from here too, right?
Yeah, it's a long flight, 10 hours. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a good conference.
Good. Yeah, should be good to see similar to EPCA, see what the kind of attitude is and see what kind of feedback we're
Yeah,
getting.
this is gonna be my 9th APLA.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So I think I'll have been around, I guess.
Used and abused.
Yeah.
Well, last year was Cancun, right? You couldn't knock
Yeah.
it out last year.
That
Yeah.
must have been tough.
Yeah, that was a tough one. But it was a tough one to sit in the lobbies when it's so nice out.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a nice place, but you cannot really leave the hotel.
trapped.
You're trapped, and you see the beautiful weather, the beach, the palm trees, and you're like, what are we doing here? You know, it's
We all feel really bad for you.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, come to Ohio. I'll go.
Yeah, we got the AFPM coming up in New Orleans this year. That should be interesting as
Yeah.
well. We got some plans for that this
Yep.
year too.
Starting to make plans. We'll have our golf outing on that Saturday, and then we're looking at a nice little kind of afternoon party, lunch, get together type thing in there. We'll have more details to come as we firm things up. But yeah, looking forward to that.
Pre-AFPM party. That sounds great.
Yep. In New Orleans, it seems only right.
Yeah,
throw
that's
a little,
right. Yeah,
throw
you
a
got
little
to have
party.
a little.
And then the coding show too, also coming up pretty much back-to-back weeks next year as well, next spring.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. So it should be a busy.
So the coding show is right after AFPM? Back-to-back
Uh,
weeks?
They actually
they
overlap
overlap.
by a day. So,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
AFPM ends on the Tuesday, and the coding show starts on Tuesday. So it's going to
Wow,
be some juggling.
Yeah, especially since the Wednesday it ends. Thursday I already booked a fishing trip out of Venice, so that's most
I guess I'm out for
important.
the coding show.
We got two in Oahu waiting for us, so
that sounds better than Indianapolis. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
we could squeeze it in and then fly out, Friday or something. We'll figure it out.
And then inside TCC news, some exciting news from the office this week. If you want.
Yeah. Really exciting. Michaela Turnquist in finance has 10-pound, 1-ounce baby boy. So far,
Yet to be named.
yet to be named because her and her husband can't decide on a particular name yet. But baby boy
Javier's a good
Turnquist.
idea.
Yeah.
Javier Turnquist. That will float.
Float that one out there.
That will float nice.
I think that sounds wonderful. And also, the logistics company just learned this morning that Josh Bell's wife is in labor right now. So the babies are flying. So it's
Yeah,
a lot of love going on at TCC.
yeah. The TCC family is growing.
Yes, it is very quickly.
Yeah.
But in sad news, we did learn this week that prior sales manager Bob Evans passed away. Javi, myself, and Kerry were actually sitting at a dinner with our friends at Evonik, who Forrest and Bob, myself, Nick, were around at the very early stages of this relationship, really formed that relationship, which is today one of our most important relationships. And it was really strange that we're all sitting there at dinner together, many of the people that started off 20 years ago as well with Bob and learned of his passing. And so we had a nice round of toasting and stories about Bob and remembering, all the funny things and great things that he did here at TCC. And so despite the fact that we've got some great new members of our family, it hurts to lose one of the TCC family. So our thoughts and prayers out to Judy Bevins and the family, and may he rest in peace.
Absolutely. Any other news or updates to wrap things up here?
I don't think so. Just pushing forward toward the end of the year here. Coming into October, it's good to see all of our friends in Europe and, sharing stories and information, and looking forward to, even though it's going to be a tough year, according to most, the rest of this year and next year, we're looking forward to it. Great opportunities for TCC, and we're going to seize them.
Absolutely. You guys agree?
I concur.
I concur.
What note as we wrap stuff up? We will have an episode in the next 2 weeks. We'll be having the CEO of the Vinyl Institute on in little interview / kind of discussion talking about what they're doing. They have some pretty cool projects towards sustainability and promoting the use of vinyl and different end uses. So it should be a good interview and discussion. We've seen the Vinyl Institute at the Compounders Conference, and they were also at the Vinyl Tech. So they do some pretty good presentations. Should be an interesting episode to see kind of what's going on in the vinyl industry on their front. So we're looking forward to that. Should be out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So keep an eye out for that one. If you haven't already, by all means, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the video version, whether you're on YouTube, it'll be on LinkedIn, Facebook. Check out this beautiful new podcast studio and setup, courtesy of the Kettlebottom guys. We appreciate you guys listening as always, and we will catch you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.